Hey there. You ready to dive into some fascinating Pakistani politics?
Always up for that.
We're going to zero in on the new Chief Justice appointment. And with this article from Independent Urdu, I think we've got a real head-scratcher on our hands.
Yeah, this appointment really throws a spotlight on the intricate dance between law and politics in Pakistan.
Which is exactly what we're here for. So before we even get to the new Chief Justice himself, this article highlights a huge change in the process. It's all about the 26th Amendment.
Absolutely.
Right?
You've got it. This amendment completely rewrites the book on how Pakistan chooses its Chief Justice.
Wow.
We've gone from a system where the outgoing Chief Justice basically handpicked their successor to one where a 12-member parliamentary committee calls the shots. It's a seismic shift in power dynamics.
Talk about an overhaul. But why now? And what does it mean for this new appointment?
Pinpointing the exact why is always tricky.
Yeah.
But there were undoubtedly some political calculations swirling behind the scenes.
Right.
What's fascinating is how it played out with Justice Afridi's appointment.
Okay.
Remember the PTI, one of Pakistan's major political parties?
Yes.
They cried foul, claimed the amendment was unconstitutional, and boycotted the committee's selection.
Okay, so far so good. But here's where it gets really interesting. They boycotted the process, but the article mentions they still threw a name into the ring for consideration. What's the strategy there?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It suggests a calculated maneuver. They might be signaling their disapproval of the amendment, while still trying to wield influence on the outcome. It speaks volumes about how crucial this appointment is in the bigger political game.
It's like they're saying, we don't agree with the rules, but we're not going to let that completely sideline us.
Exactly.
Talk about high-stakes maneuvering. And to add to the pressure, this all went down right before the previous Chief Justice's term ended, didn't it?
Absolutely. The article makes it clear that this wasn't a leisurely process. They managed to push through this major amendment, navigate the political clashes, and select a new Chief Justice, all with the clock ticking. It begs the question, will future committees always be able to handle this kind of pressure and reach a consensus so quickly? Or could this create a breeding ground for rushed decisions or undue influence down the line?
That's a fantastic point. This time it worked. But it sets a precedent that could become problematic. They were under the gun to meet that deadline.
Precisely. While expediency might have been necessary in this instance, it does raise concerns about the potential for hasty judgments in the future. But let's shift gears for a moment. We've talked a lot about the process, the amendment, the political maneuvering. But what about the man at the heart of it all, Justice Yahya Afridi?
Right, this deep dive is about him after all. What kind of Chief Justice is Pakistan getting? What does the article tell us about his background?
Unfortunately, the article you shared focuses primarily on the process, leaving Justice Afridi's background and judicial leanings somewhat of a mystery.
Okay.
We know he has an extensive and well-regarded history within the judiciary.
So in terms of predicting his leadership style, we're working with a bit of a blank slate.
To a degree, yes. However, it's crucial to remember that even without granular details about his past rulings, the very fact of his appointment carries immense weight. The Chief Justice plays a pivotal role in shaping the Supreme Court's trajectory, and by extension, how Pakistani law is interpreted and applied.
Every decision at that level has a ripple effect, influencing legal interpretations and setting precedents for cases across the country.
Exactly. And it's not just about Justice Afridi himself. This entire episode has ushered in a radically new system for selecting future Supreme Court justices.
You're talking about the commission, right? The one with a wider range of representatives. That feels significant.
It is. The article emphasizes that this 12-member commission isn't just about parliamentarians anymore. It includes lawyers, and notably a member representing a minority group.
Okay.
Now, to grasp the full weight of this, we need to consider the current political climate in Pakistan.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. What makes this inclusion so significant in the context of Pakistani politics?
Pakistan, as you know, has a history of political and social tensions. With minority groups often facing marginalization, the inclusion of a representative from a minority group in such a powerful body is a bold statement. It suggests a move towards a more inclusive judicial system, at least in principle.
That's a really interesting point. It seems like a step towards greater representation and diversity within the heart of the Pakistani legal system. On the surface, that sounds like a positive development.
It certainly has that potential. But while increased representation is generally a good thing, it's important to look beyond the surface. The long-term effectiveness of this new system will depend on how it plays out in practice.
You're right. It's easy to get caught up in the symbolism of a change like this. What are some of the potential pitfalls we should be watching out for?
Well, for one, the commission's independence will be paramount. If the selection process becomes vulnerable to political maneuvering or external pressures, it undermines the very purpose of trying to create a more impartial and representative judiciary.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. What good is having a diverse commission if their decisions are being dictated by outside forces?
Exactly. The article also touches upon the criteria for selecting commission members. How those criteria are defined, and more importantly, how they are applied, will be crucial.
I see.
It's not just about ticking boxes. It's about ensuring a genuinely balanced and qualified pool of candidates, both for the Chief Justice position and for all future Supreme Court justices.
So transparency and accountability are going to be key. The success of this amendment hinges on whether it can truly deliver on the promise of a more balanced and representative judiciary.
Precisely. It's about creating a system where merit and a genuine reflection of Pakistan's diverse society are the driving forces behind judicial appointments.
Wow, talk about a deep dive. We've gone from a seemingly straightforward appointment to uncovering a web of political maneuvering, constitutional changes, and questions about the future of Pakistan's judiciary.
It really goes to show how much complexity can be packed into a single news story.
Absolutely. This deep dive has given us a lot to think about. Will Justice Afridi's tenure usher in a new era for Pakistan's Supreme Court? Will this new amendment fulfill its promise of a more inclusive and representative judicial system? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, this is a story we'll be following closely. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.